All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Sagey Bard podcast. Today, we will be discussing Russel Brand. We have an update. We're going to be actually reviewing some video. Guys, this is a really important subject. What's happening with Russel Brand is, I would say, unprecedented.
I wouldn't say it's unprecedented, but it is definitely an outright example of a collusion between government and private organizations or businesses like Facebook, social media companies to isolate and target someone over not what they're saying on a platform, but alleged things that they're doing in their own private life.
And keyword is alleged. This is actually incredible. This is kind of scary. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to review some video from, we have a couple of videos that we want to show you. One from Sky News, one from the Dore channel.
Yeah.
Hope you guys are familiar with Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is a progressive. Once again, I am not affiliated. I'm not a progressive. I'm not left or right.
And one of the things to note is neither of us are huge fans of Russel Brand. In fact, I would say I'm probably not a fan of Russel Brand, but the name of this podcast for today is the Russel Brand treatment. And this is something that you want to avoid happening to you. And this is what we're talking about here is reputation wrecking and shadow banning by social media.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna show you something, and it's gonna make sense. So let's get right into it. We're gonna check out this first video. This is gonna be from the Jimmy Dore show. Let's go ahead and start from the beginning on this.
Interesting. The Gray Zone wrote some stuff the other day. Intel linked UK official pushing censorship of Russel Brand. We kind of talked about this the other day. This is the first time that we know of which a platform suspended somebody, not for the content they put on online, but for their behavior and their actions offline. Alleged. You're right. Alleged actions offline. Well, I mean, in the Court of Public Appeals, according to the ruling class, he's guilty. And that's why they were able to 86 him. Kim, what are your initial thoughts right away as far as YouTube demonetizing him? I mean, I know it wasn't surprising to any of us over here, but your initial thoughts.
Okay, so we're just going to pause that just for a second, just because of YouTube's guidelines. We need to stop and we need to comment. So just off the bat, we're just going to kind of recap. Russel Brand hasn't been charged officially with anything. He has had only an accusation made. And what you're about to hear is shocking.
Well, he's only had an accusation, but for those of you who might be new to this topic, it's important for you to understand the evolution of Russel Brand, who's gone from someone most people would agree was very liberal and on the left side to someone probably on the alternative right side. And there are a number of articles that point this out. It says Russel Brand's evolution from left-wing comedian to podcast hero of the alternate right, and says that Brand has slowly evolved from an anti-establishment comedian into an anti-woke podcaster. And as he's evolved over time, he has now gained some really powerful enemies that we're beginning to see pop out of the woodwork, and we're going to be talking about that, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about that in our reaction from Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get back into this clip.
Him. Yeah. They're making the money on it. They're just not giving it to him.
Yes. They're still running ads.
It is monetized.
Yes.
They're just not sharing the profits they're making off this terrible allegationed man.
Yeah, they're not deplatforming him. I mean, it's completely for them to, from allegations, for somebody to just be able to make an accusation against you, and then they say, okay, well, for one, there's no actual investigation that I know of happening, so it's not like police are involved. These women didn't go to the police.
He wasn't arrested.
He wasn't arrested. They didn't go to the police. These women didn't even come forward. These journalists went and found all of these women.
That's the other thing. No one came forward. It's a very apparent immediately.
Yeah, this news organization went around asking hundreds of women.
And I'll stop it there for just a second. Honestly, what, I don't know the gentleman's name, but what he said is how, well, Kim Iverson has her own show. She's more on the right leaning side, but what she said about journalists, the women, this is huge. The women did not come forward. Okay, you guys, you understanding this? The women did not come forward. The journalists were looking for the women.
But my question would be, how could they know who to even look for? Were they just interviewing people they saw him with over the years? Or did they, I mean, because I think that people are saying that there are text messages, which might implicate him in whatever is alleged. But the question then is it the collection of metadata by governments and that shared information where people are able to sift through personal text messages from people and say, well, this looks fishy and it was sent to Bard. So why don't we start looking into this?
We don't have any hard data on that as yet, but the journalist might, we don't want to make anything up. We don't want to be conspiratorial. We want to just go with what we know. But my best guess is, as you guys will see, that there is someone in power who's on a witch hunt after him. My best guess is that they probably gave the journos information to start looking into him.
I think, put another way, Bart and I are both saying that we are lawful citizens and we want to give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. However, when
reluctantly
Caesar oversteps his bounds and steps into what private citizens' rights have traditionally been, and that's what we're observing today.
Right, that's right, and I think there's evidence that what's happening with government is there is intrusion into the private sector. There's a merging of the private sector, and we'll get more into this. Let's get back to this video.
About their experiences with Russel Brand. They happened to find 4 that had some stories, and they wrote this up in a media piece, and now he's losing his livelihood over accusations. Hundreds of women about their experiences with Russel Brand. They happened to find 4 that had some stories, and they wrote this up in a media piece, and now he's losing his livelihood over accusations, and there's no police investigation. He hasn't had due process. There's been no trial, no jury. And even if he is guilty, honestly, he should still be allowed to make money. His YouTube channel has nothing to do. He's not like promoting.
You're not allowed to earn a living
once you're a convict of some
your
kind.
Innocence, and even then,
even if you're guilty, you should.
All right, let's stop there for a second. All right, so any comments on that? Because something pops up in mind. I want to. All right, let me go first then, since you're thinking. All right, so number one, Kim Iverson makes a really good point. Even if you're guilty, you should have the right to make money. Recently, California just created a law. They passed a law where you can no longer access a felon, like a person who's committed a crime. Their records can no longer be seen by potential employers, because, except in cases, I think, of child molestation. I don't want to lie to you guys, but I think that's the exception. Because here's the truth, guys. When you commit a crime, when you go to jail, that is supposed to be paying your debt that you owe to society. After you're done paying that debt, the debt's done. Why are people still being discriminated against when it comes to jobs? Now, here's what she's saying. She's saying that people who have actually committed crimes still have the ability to work once they get out, especially now in California, because they've paid their debt. Why do I still need to know what you did? Which I think is a great law, because if you're not paying your debt, then for life, this is following you, and now you don't have an ability. So what's the point of sentencing someone to a year or 2 years if it's going to follow you for the rest of your life? So the punishment doesn't match the crime. And in this case, the punishment certainly, he hasn't even committed a crime yet. We don't even know. That's one of the things that we don't know.
Well, to put it in perspective, we have Bob Menendez, who's one of the most senior Democrats in the Senate right now. They found him with bars of gold in his home, along with about $500,000, $600,000 of cash, as well as another $70,000 of cash in his wife's account. And he's been implicated in being bribed by the Egyptian government and being heavily involved with that. That's happening right now. He's still serving in the Senate right now. And this is the second time that something like this has happened.
So he hasn't been demonetized.
No, he hasn't been demonetized. You have Eric Swalwell, whose girlfriend was a Chinese agent, and she was like basically a Chinese spy,
right,
collecting information. You have Matt Gaetz, who's doing all kinds of stuff with a bunch of underage children or young people in Florida. Yeah, he's still
not demonetized. All right. So you guys are seeing, you're starting to understand what's happening here, and they're going to get more into it. Let's listen.
And those are people from the right and the left.
Okay, so those are people on both sides of the aisle. All right, let's continue.
Should still be allowed to earn a living. I mean, we have people that they're convicted of crimes, they just get probation, they keep their jobs.
Yeah.
They're able to have jobs and livelihoods. I mean, if it has nothing to do, it's not like he's on the platform using it to commit crime. It's one thing if you're using the platform to commit crime.
Yeah.
But it's another thing if you're just making a living. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Even if he's guilty, even if he's found guilty in a court of law, if they don't want him to make money, put him in jail. Yeah. That's how you do that. That's how you punish people. But then when they're out of jail, you have to allow them the right to make money. And they're not. I mean, this is insane. It's insane that an accusation alone, with no police investigation, nothing, could actually cost you your livelihood.
Some people, I mean, some people know that's not enough. We'll ignore it. Like the president of the United States.
Right, exactly.
14-year-old daughter.
Allegedly, she could have just wrote that in the diary.
Yeah, she might have lied to her diary.
Yeah, she
and we know that's real because they sent the Secret Service or FBI to kick down.
And Tara Reid's in Russia. She's got to hide on out.
So it's real weird how we pick and choose. Secondly, it's always sexual misconduct now. That's a real broad term.
Yeah.
Where I don't know what the hell it means. It seems to mean whatever you want in the moment if you don't like the person.
Meanwhile, Cardi B still has her.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Well, yeah, like he says at the end, sexual misconduct could now be anything. I mean,
as long as you don't like the person.
As long as you don't like the person, it doesn't even have. I mean, what could sexual misconduct? It might not even involve another human being. I mean, or animal.
That's true.
It's just we don't like what you were doing.
Right, and we're going to try to make up some reasons to get you canceled. I see what's happening is extremely desperate.
I find it extremely dangerous.
It's dangerous and it's desperate. I think if you're going to that length to shut him up, he's hit a nerve. What is he talking about that you don't like? What are you hiding? And I think I agree with you. It's dangerous as a we're going to get into it. It's actually a government that's going after him.
And we want to highlight something that I think Kim Iverson points out, which is Russel Brand is not able to financially benefit from his own videos.
Right.
But they haven't taken any of the content he has put on YouTube off. So there's no problem with the content per se.
Exactly.
Other people are still making money off of his content.
Right.
It's just he can't make money off of his own content.
So what does this tell us, guys? This tells us that this is punitive. This is punishment for an accusation.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
He's been tried and found guilty in the court of public opinion. We need to get Judge Dredd.
I mean, even the public's not really on. It's them throwing out this accusation and then immediately trying to act. They didn't even allow a month or 2 or 3 to go by for the public to get upset. They didn't even allow their propaganda to really thoroughly work. They needed to get him off now.
Yeah, they jumped on it.
And this is why this is extremely strange and dangerous. I would say go watch Russell Crowe. Excuse me. Watch Russell Crowe too. The Gladiator. All right, let's get back into this clip.
YouTube channel, 10 million people, and she's admitted to drugging and,
guys up
Yeah.
while she was a stripper
Was she?
stealing money.
I don't think she was about masking up, was she?
No,
Talking about they're talking about Cardi B, the so-called rapper.
Shouldn't she try to spread?
with the Cardi B thing, in case you guys didn't know about her, and I didn't know about this, back when she was a stripper, she has admitted that she would drug men so that she could rob them. So
She should be in jail.
well, she should be right there next
She
to
could-
Bill Cosby, right?
She admitted to a crime. And you know how many rappers are going to jail over their lyrics right now? There are prosecutors around this country, especially in Chicago, who are prosecuting rappers off of rap lyrics. But Cardi B admits to robbing guys who she's drugged. So we have at least 2 charges: drugging them and robbing them. And those are some serious charges. Drugging someone and then robbing them. And what is she doing? Is her YouTube down? Is her music being pulled?
To be clear, I think most rap music is garbage, complete trash. However, I do think that they have the right to be able to sing that or whatever they want to do, because they're not actually committing something, a crime. That's freedom of speech.
It is freedom of speech, but when you admit to a crime,
Yes, that's different.
that's when you get prosecuted.
So Cardi B's in a different category than the rappers who are, I mean, you could even potentially say they're inciting violence, but even that's really kind of.
Well, some of these guys are confessing to murders in their music.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different.
And that shows how intelligent some of them are. But they're being prosecuted, and they're being prosecuted by a black prosecutor in Chicago. A black woman's doing this, and I think she should, because we need to clean up our streets. Anyway, let's get back into this clip, guys.
Spread the word.
Well, she talked about her. I don't want to talk about her friends.
Or the effective vaccine. I'd never.
What do you think though, Kim, to the point where YouTube goes, it's a private entity, we can do what we want, it's up to us, we don't have to monetize you if we don't want to. What do you say to that? Because this is a subject that's very personal to me. My YouTube channel, Combo Couch,
You don't get to steal the person's money.
Yeah.
If it's such an immoral thing, then no one makes money on it.
Well, let's say if they weren't making money, if they weren't running ads, could it be legal to demonetize this person because you don't like them and let that person make money?
Yeah, that's discrimination. That should be somehow considered a discriminatory.
Everybody signed on for this. Everybody thought it was great. That's what cancel culture was the whole time. Was a way to make your company like you have rights in America, but you're also a citizen of Google. And Google, you have different rights.
Right.
And everybody just signed on for that because they were so eager to get it. Their parasocial enemies.
Well, I'd
even
like
if
to know
they've completely demonetized him, even if they're not making any money off the ads, they're still getting traffic from him.
Oh yeah.
So they're
making a very valid, or very interesting. It's a very interesting discussion, because we have now, as a society, evolved past just public and private rules. With social media, it's basically a way that government can communicate with you by leaking certain information, or private companies can communicate messages. So then if you're basically blocking one whole portion of the population from participating in this, whether it's Twitter, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, all of these things should be free speech platforms,
right? Even
though they're private companies, because they cross the line.
Right. And guys, I want to say this. I think that now that we're seeing this happen, I think that in societies across the world where we enjoy free speech, I think we need to be pushing and keep this. Let me segue. Let me throw a comma here and then, say this. These multinational companies like Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, they're multinational. And if Americans who head these companies, who are buddies with people in governments, that makes the social networks and these platforms some of the most powerful people in the world.
Well, they're more powerful than governments.
They are, because they could silence said government or the people or both.
They can incite a whole rebellion, they can create a civil war. They can do all kinds of things.
All sorts of things. And I think Facebook and the Cambridge Analytica leaked data that they were using, they affected an election in Kenya.
Well, there's other places they affect an election.
They're working on ours right now. Okay, let's get back to, okay, let me say one more thing. When it comes to let me hold that thought. Let's get back into the video. I'll comment on that a little bit later. Let's get back into this.
Getting the eyeballs to the platform, and then what do? They recommend all these other videos to you after you watch one of his that they then can make money off of. So even if they're totally taking ads off of his current content, which they might be for a little while, they're still making money off of him by simply having that big of a person on their platform. If they don't want him, if they're wanting to be moral and say, well, we just don't even want to support this type of person because we don't off the platform completely, actually put your money where your mouth is on.
All right, sorry about that, guys. We're having some slow loading speeds here. But anyway, go ahead.
So then basically what we're talking about, or what she's talking about right now, is YouTube is still financially benefiting from not having to pay Russel Brand. They're still showing his content. They're still making ad money, huge amounts of money, because people look for Russel Brand. But the other thing, the next iteration of what we're probably going to see, Bard, is very likely a total erasing of your social presence, because it would be very easy for YouTube to collude with Rumble, TikTok, and a bunch of other so-called private companies, right? Social media companies, and basically erase you.
That's true. And I heard they have algorithms where they can, obviously your voice is online, and they can basically, like you said, erase you. They can find your voice anywhere online, whatever videos you do, and just take them all down.
Yeah.
That's AI. That's the power of AI. But yeah, guys, I think this is frightening. And I think the fact that typically the advertisers would object to content. They would say, okay, we don't want ads being run against this content or against this content creator. But this isn't the case here. This is an allegation. And I think there's a law. I heard someone talking about this. There's a law. If you make an accusation, you have to show your face. You have to be present, because if not,
we've evolved past that.
Yeah, yeah. You have to. If you're making an accusation, you have to show yourself, because if not, it could be a ghost.
Yeah,
it could be no one. They could just make stuff up. And look, Russel Brand is making a ton of money off of YouTube. A ton. He's got millions of subscribers. He's a millionaire off of YouTube.
Yeah.
This is sanctions. And guys, let me highlight something. We're moving into an era with central bank digital currencies, digital money, cashless society, and we're moving into digital IDs. They're going to be linking the two. We're getting an idea of how dystopian this can be.
Oh, it can be completely destructive. I mean, you could be erased in a day.
Guys, with this digital ID and digital currency, what they did to Russel Brand, they can do to anyone instantly. They can turn off your money, guys, your ability to buy things. This is why it's incredibly dangerous. So what's happening is, this is like the way the United States would sanction Russia or sanction Cuba and prevent them from using the international SWIFT banking system, prevent them from using dollars to
prevent them from using their own money.
Guys, this is individual sanctions for people. This is what they're doing to Russel Brand over an accusation. Guys, remember when the entire country of Iraq, the Iraqi government, was accused of having weapons of mass destruction? How'd that turn out?
Well, here you go. You can look at, in terms of monetary systems, you don't even have to go back to Iraq, which was now getting close to 20 years ago. Look at India in 2016. They basically locked everyone in a room and said, you know what? we're going to change the currency. We're going to make an announcement in 1 month. All of the old notes are going to be bad. And if you've had any notes like cash in your house, which a lot of Indian people did, you can only transfer or basically change out about $50 a day into the new currency. So if you had a whole pile of money in your home, well, you can't change it out. Bob Menendez, he would have been out of luck with his $500,000 hidden under his mattress.
And all this gold bullion with Egyptian hieroglyphs on it.
well, the gold bullion would have been fine, which is really interesting because gold and silver commodities don't lose value.
Yeah.
Whereas you can inflate paper currency.
That's right. All right, let's watch the rest of this clip, and then we're going to get into Sky News.
But they're not willing to do that.
Yeah. And I think that would be illegal too, because they have to play even across the board. I mean, we have Section 230 of the NDA, which says you can only act as a platform.
All right, this clip is degraded. Let's go straight to let's look at this Twitter. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this Twitter article.
The government no longer needs a predicate of calling you a terrorist or an extremist to deploy.
Start from the beginning.
Author and activist Michael Schellenberger played a pivotal role earlier this year in releasing the Twitter files, which exposed the power big tech companies have on controlling narratives. Schellenberger shared previously unseen information regarding Twitter's content moderation before Elon Musk took over Twitter, exposing the level of influence high-level executives and the intelligence service had on the platform.
The government no longer needs a predicate of calling you a terrorist or an extremist to deploy government resources to counter your political activity. The only predicate it needs is simply the assertion that the opinion you expressed on social media is wrong.
Michael Schellenberger, thank you for joining us. Now, you have done a lot of work that's led global conversations around what you've dubbed the censorship industrial complex. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why this work is important to you?
Well, sure. I mean, my interest in censorship really began when I was one of the Twitter files authors. We were given access to internal emails and messages within Twitter. And what we discovered was at first the kind of censorship that you would expect, very politically correct, very sort of radical left censorship. But then we started to discover something very strange, which is we started to see requests from the FBI, the Department of...
All right, let's go ahead and pause it right there.
Yeah. So basically, to give you guys an idea, in the Jimmy Dore show, as well as what's happening here in Sky News, they're reporting on government officials that are basically requesting social media platforms to basically target certain individuals or information and pull them off.
And pull it off. Guys, let me tell you this. What in the Twitter files, this is actually really shocking. What happened was the FBI actually had agents embedded at Twitter. This is what Elon Musk found out after he acquired the company, after he bought the company. And the agents were engaged in censorship.
Yeah. So what we have ultimately is the appearance of freedom, right? We have the appearance of freedom, but in these cases that Bart and I have brought up, now with Twitter, basically our own, which Twitter is an American company, Elon Musk, as much as
South Africa.
we have people who like him and don't like him. But Twitter was implicated in manipulating all kinds of stuff. So we have Twitter with embedded agents. You have the British Parliament minister in the UK that's specifically targeting Russel Brand and led to what has happened. So when you look at it, you say, well, what about my Bill of Rights?
Right.
Well,
exactly.
When you have these different types of new religions, which is wokeism or whatever it is,
religion,
you can freeze people out. And just to give you guys an idea of how fast this could happen, well, we now have a case study. Just look at Russel Brand.
Look at Russel Brand. That should be a t-shirt. All right, let's do this. Let's get into this. Sagey mentioned the UK minister. Let's go ahead and add that. And let's take a look at this together.
Yes.
Let's back this up.
Friday, and the abuse by comedian and podcaster Russel Brand by the British media prompted YouTube to demonetize the star's popular channel on September 20th. The Gray Zone can now reveal that the YouTube's financial censorship of Brand is a result of an effort waged by former British government minister who was responsible for London's crackdown and dissent during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, I knew it.
Wow.
I knew it was because that's back when it came out. Prince Charles had extra money and was paying that cutout. You know, they were fresh off Syria propaganda, and it was like they're paying bread tube people to.
All right, we're gonna stop it there. Okay, so we now know
she was a former government official.
Right, but guys, we know
she became a lobbyist.
Yeah, we know that once you're in that club, former or not, you still have influence.
Yes,
people still call you, people still ask you questions. You still have somewhat of power, but guess what? You're no longer an elected official, and this is what people are calling deep state.
Yeah,
people who are friends, and they have friends in government, and they need favors done, and they need this done, and they never really go away. No. That's the problem, and then everyone's meddling in the government. So our rights are being destroyed by these relationships that people have in government. You know, our freedoms, as we can see. And let me make this last comment. The White House press secretary, when asked about the Twitter files, people were asking her, they were constantly asking her about Twitter. And she's excellent at deflecting. They need to put her in the next Matrix movie. Corinne Jean-Pierre, what she said was really interesting. Twitter is a private company. We don't have the clip. They can do whatever they want. It's their platform. But now we know behind the scenes, the nation's leading federal police, the FBI, was deleting and editing and doing stuff behind the scenes in Twitter. So essentially, the government was removing our First Amendment rights.
Exactly.
To support whatever their objectives are.
And this is what an article by John Levin from the New York Post. Twitter's top ranks riddled with ex-FBI employees. This is from December 17, 2022. It says Twitter's top ranks were riddled with ex-FBI agents and executives, stitching the company even closer to the federal agency now under fire for leaning on Twitter to meddle in the 2020 elections. More than a dozen former Feds flocked to the company in the months and years prior to Elon Musk's purchase of the social media network. And when you look at the types of people that you have, these are people who should have been promoted within the FBI. So then if you didn't have some kind of a quasi-alliance between Twitter leadership and the FBI, that would have been considered basically a huge career downgrade to step into that arena,
into that space. But let's look at it from another angle. What are federal police officers, FBI, what are federal investigators doing working at Twitter?
Manipulating the news.
It was like 80 of them.
Well,
but why? How does that make any sense to you guys? Like, they should be off investigating crimes.
Correct.
What are they doing? Removing stories,
suppressing the news,
suppressing speech, free speech, journalists.
So
people's jobs.
Look at this guy here. Matthew Williams spent more than 15 years with the FBI, working mostly out of Seattle, where he served most recently as an intelligence program manager and senior supervisory intelligence analyst. Williams joined Twitter in 2020, June of 2020, the same month as Baker, as senior director of product trust, according to his LinkedIn. In June 2022, he moved into a more expansive position as senior director of product trust, revenue policy, council systems, and analytics at Twitter. He noted this made him co-lead of trust and safety. Does that seem like he took a career step down or out of the FBI?
You know, let me take the long way to answer that. At face value, let's look at it like this. the FBI, as an agent, you may make, I don't know, 125, 150,000. You start off maybe around 80,000. Okay. I've seen ads for the FBI employment. Everyone knows the private sector makes more. Okay. Now, if you're in law enforcement, which is what the FBI is, if you're doing investigations, it doesn't seem like a lateral move. It doesn't even seem like it's within the same arena, the same space. It's totally different from I mean, I get it if let's say you're anti-terrorism, right? And you go to a social media space where possibly terrorists are using your network. That makes sense. Safe and trusted. That makes sense. But from what we understand about what the FBI was doing at Twitter, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit their active job description. These are active FBI agents who were there just removing things, pulling things down. That's not investigations. I mean, it is investigating, but it's not law enforcement because crimes aren't being committed. They're the ones committing the crimes. Yeah. So that's how I look at that. So I think it's a strange move.
If you can control an election, then you can create new crimes because you create new laws that make what was previously legal illegal.
Yeah.
And then you ban them.
Yeah. Then you get rid of them.
Yeah.
Guys, I think this is let's go ahead and maybe wrap up here. I think this is a watershed moment for us in this country. Just the fact that they could go after Russel Brand.
Well, it becomes a Trojan horse.
It's a Trojan horse. Yeah. To imagine that you don't have an actual crime that he's committed. We don't have a victim that stepped forward.
No.
We have journalists who were a part of the witch hunt. They were being used. They're proxies, they're tools, assets of the government. As we know, if you looked at WikiLeaks back in 2016, you would have seen that journalists were basically kowtowing to politicians and looking for stories, offering softball interviews. It's all political theater.
Asking politicians about their favorite ice cream.
The ice cream and, so did you watch the game last night?
What we have here is an example of extrajudicial justice.
Yes.
And it's really dangerous. It's worth it for you guys to look into the Russel Brand treatment and what's happening with him, because this is something that should not happen in a free society, whether it's the United States, which has different free speech laws than the UK. But when we look at our number one partner, it's really disheartening to see this happening across the Atlantic, because the same things are happening here.
And I would say that, being on these platforms, YouTube being an American platform owned by Google, and Rumble, I believe, is also American as well. We didn't even talk about Rumble really quickly. Rumble refused to take him down. I think we talked about this in our last podcast. So they refused to take his stuff down because YouTube didn't even take it down. YouTube, because his material is not where the so-called offense is. It's nothing to do with his material, because they know it's not, what he's saying isn't illegal or against guidelines. YouTube demonetized them, but the British government wanted his stuff taken down completely.
Yeah.
Because they know that the boatload of his money comes from YouTube.
But here's the thing. What can you do? What can you do about this? And really, there isn't that much you can do about it, but it is worth being aware and really trying to pay attention and support efforts by those advocating for more transparency on social media platforms and regulation by the government. And again, I'm typically not in favor of regulation, but these different platforms that are acting as private companies, supposedly, are
not private.
They're not private. They're being infiltrated, and you need to be aware of it. And you can only protect your freedom of speech if you protect someone else's freedom of speech that you don't agree with.
That's right. Let me say this. This will be my final comment. You want to wrap up after this?
Yeah, I want to look for one other thing.
Okay. me make this comment. In America, I remember looking at the Chinese and feeling sorry for them with their state-controlled media, and feeling sorry for them because of the censorship. And here's the interesting thing. I heard someone say this. The Chinese know when they're watching TV, when they're watching the news, they know it's propaganda. They know it's government controlled. They know this. When Americans watch TV, Americans don't know. Americans think it's real. That's more dangerous when you really believe it. So that's the dangerous part about this, is because if what the FBI was doing at Twitter was okay, it would have been on Front Street. It would have been something that Twitter advertised. Yeah, by the way, we have the FBI here doing some work with us. Yeah. But they didn't. It was hidden from the public.
Let me close by reading you something from a German theologian who was killed by Hitler and the Nazis during right in the lead up to World War II. His name was Martin Niemöller. And it's a poem that is named First They Came. And he said, first they came for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time, no one was left to speak up. And we can look at people like Russel Brand. I'm not a huge supporter of him. I'm not even a huge supporter of Elon Musk. There's a lot of things I dislike about both of these two gentlemen, but at the same time, they are making valid points, and we can only be safe with our own thoughts and opinions if we protect other people's thoughts and opinions and liberty as well.
Well said. And guys, on that note, we are going to call it a day. We're going to wrap it up. Go ahead and please like, subscribe, share with a friend. And as always, guys, we will see you Hey everyone, this is Bard. I want to thank all of our viewers for continuing to support us. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. And please be sure to give this video a like. It really helps out with the algorithm. And definitely, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about this Russel Brand situation. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.